What's up, TikTok? This your boy Nelly Nail coming back at you again. TikTok, TikTok. Well, usually I be, talking about, the Bible and going through scripture sometimes, and I think this time I just want to just talk to you, as a human being, you know, um, and and I want to talk about this Yahweh character, um, your God. The God that I once believed in too as well, till I studied and researched and found out where it came from and the reason behind it, you know. Um, but I just got questions, My question, one of my biggest questions is, what is the God doing for you today? What is the God doing for humanity today? You know, we can go off the Bible of things that he did in the Bible and this, that, and the other, which definitely 95% of the things he did to humanity in the Bible was terrible, you know. But I just want to know, what is he doing today? Have you ever really sat down and thought about that? You know, now we can make all the excuses in the world, but in reality, what is the God actually doing? Now I know I hear believers talk and they say, well, God did this for me. They attribute a lot of things to God, and it's usually financial, usually, getting them out of a tough spot, something like that, something that they logically can come up with a explanation for why that happened, but they just choose to say God did it. You get sick, go to the hospital, and the doctors heal you. And no, there wasn't the doctors, it was God that did it. Stuff like that. But, you know, I get really tired of hearing, you know, believers. And when I say believers, I'm talking about believers in Yahweh. I'm talking about believers in Allah, Buddha, whoever. Doesn't matter to me. Ain't none of them real. It's just a figmentation of your mind, something that you've been brought up and trained in, and just taught, so you actually believe what you were taught without having any evidence or facts behind it. You know, we all would, if you were, believer in the past, like myself, I mean, I was brought up in it. So, I was with this belief system a long time. But the main question I got is, like I said, what is the God doing for humanity today? Because I see a lot of shit wrong. I see, people starving all over the world. I see children suffering all over the world. You know, I see people getting killed all over the world. And the only thing that I do see is humans trying to control the situation, or humans trying to stop the violence, or this, that, and that. But I don't see no God stepping in. I ain't never seen the sky open up or none of this, and God come down and stop someone from killing somebody, or this, that, and the third. I always see is humans, that do it. So I just I got that question. You can put all your faith and belief into a God that does absolutely nothing. Everything that you attribute to your God, it's a human behind it. You know, coincidence doesn't matter. It's God. You know, so if nothing else, like I said, like and share the video. Or get in the comments. Answer me. Answer my question. You know, outside of the human mind, what is this God actually doing? I don't see the God doing anything. I don't see the devil doing anything. I see a bunch of human beings doing stuff. That's what I see. And I see a bunch of humans attribute all these good things to a God and then attribute all the bad things to a Satan. And I don't get that. It's not registering with me. And here's the thing. You're talking about a God that's all powerful, a God that is all knowing, the Alpha, the Omega, beginning and end. But yet this God needs a mere human to speak for it. This God needs a mere human to justify its works. Doesn't sound like a God exists to me. I mean, have you ever even thought about that? Have you ever really sat down and thought about it and then think about the harm that this belief system causes? Because you can brainwash a person so well, and they actually believe that this God exists. And they'll end up putting themselves in bad situations, dangerous situations, because they think a God is going to protect them. And another thing, y'all need to quit telling children this. Because like I said before in my other videos, a child is already in the land of make-believe. So it's easy to convince them that it's something else out there that's looking out for them. Something else out there that's going to protect them. If I'm not there, God is with you. God will protect you. And then if something seriously happens, believe me, that child is disappointed because that God didn't protect them. Because the God does not exist. The God only exists in the mind of the human who believes in it. You know, I've asked this other question before to Christians, and like I said, if you got the answer for it, please leave it in the comments. I love to hear from you. But the other question I have is, what if every believer out there, whether you believe in Allah, whether you believe in Buddha, whether you believe in Yahweh, does not matter. Whatever God you believe in, what if every believer on the planet was to all of a sudden stop believing? What power do you think your God would have then? You think your God would show up then? Because not one person on the planet believes in him. No more. You think he'd show up then? Where would his power be? So in other words, what I'm really trying to say to you is that the power of your God exists in your mind, and you give it the power. You attribute all these things to a God and to a Satan. So you give Satan the power and you give God the power. I need you to really think about that. Your God's power comes from humans. And if the humans were to stop believing, your God would just be a name, whether it be Yahweh, Allah, Buddha, whoever. But like I said, I'm making this video, guys. Like and share my videos. I appreciate that. And please, by all means, jump in the comments. Answer my questions, because I love to hear from you. What is your best evidence for your God besides personal testimony? Think about that. This your boy Nelly Nell. I'm out.